let's get a pulse check on what traders have been doing on the nabtrade platform this past week. And for that, as usual, Gemma Dale is joining us from nabtrade. Good Friday morning. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Good. How were nabtraders this week?
Yeah, they're okay. They're okay. It's very much, as I've been saying the last sort of month or so, it's the big fish who are playing and the little fish are just, sidelined.
I don't blame them.
Yeah, they're not selling out or anything. But we keep saying about this market, it's not expensive. It's definitely not cheap. And so there's nothing to get excited about. For so many of our guys who love a bargain, they're like, can't see any bargains. I'm not going to get excited about this. And the bigger guys, they know what they're moving. They're fine. They're doing that.
From someone who loves a bargain as well, I get it. I'm very reticent to buy something today if I think tomorrow it's going to be on sale.
Yeah.
Or potentially next week as well.
Yeah.
So Perpetual, Pendle, just to take a bit of a breather from reporting season. Did that get anyone excited?
It's so nice to talk about something completely different. Like, oh, thank God something happened that is completely different.
Yeah.
But that our guys obviously have an appetite for, which I find super interesting. Magellan's been in there for quite a while, right? And Magellan's been one that they're very interested in. I think there's the Hamish Douglas factor. People can attach a name to that business. They loosely know what it's about. It's been very appealing to them in multiple ways, and having seen the share price fall so dramatically, a few of them have had a nibble at various points. We didn't really ever see any buying toward the top, that sort of $40, $50, $60 range. That was not what they were doing, but as it came down, they were buying. Perpetual and Pendle, you never really see them. They don't have that kind of charismatic front person or anything quite so exciting to get interested in. But yesterday, you're seeing quite dramatic share price movements for each of them, right? Perpetual's fallen at 8.5 or whatever it was, and Pendle's up 9. So they were, because our guys love a bargain, or they like to do the arbitrage thing. It's the larger guys, and the trade sizes are quite meaningful. They were buying Perpetual and selling Pendle. Which assumes obviously that you owned Pendle. Didn't know anybody did, but they do.
And now you know.
Yeah.
See, even you, Gemma, can learn something about your cohort on a weekly basis. Back to reporting season, though. Insignia was the best performer yesterday, and I understand just from your notes that it was a strong sell. Would you have known that there was, were these, was it the volumes were high, or it was just something noticeable on the screen? Yeah,
it was quite interesting. The volumes were okay. They were surprising because it was Insignia, and it wasn't particularly that we expected to see a huge amount of movement in it. It was more, oh gosh, people own this, all right, they're selling it now.
Something else you learned.
But it was formerly IOOF.
Yeah.
That was one that was under a lot of pressure for a long time. So we assumed most people had gotten out of it. But that little pop, they were quite happy. Obviously, the MLC acquisition has gone relatively well for them so far. And so our guys are like, oh, good, it's up. I'll sell it. Go buy something else.
Now,
probably Perpetual.
We've had sort of the trifecta in the big consumer-related names, in the staples space, Woolworths, Coles, and then today Wesfarmers.
Yeah.
I always feel like that completes the circle. So clearly it was a COVID impacted first half. Clearly, the costs are rising, but all of them are sort of expressing some confidence about the state of the consumer, at least as we transition into FY23. We have seen selling though on the day for Coles and Woolies in particular. Did that garner any interest?
Oh yeah, guys love anything that's good that's been sold off, right?
So back to the theme.
They were super keen. Woolies, it's worth going at $36. You're not far off the price it fell to when they spun off Endeavour, right? So that's quite an interesting price. So obviously our guys have a lot of alerts around that level. And so there was massive buying in it. Coles is quite similar. Wesfarmers, they've been sitting tight, so it'll be interesting to see if they're all over it today or if they're just, it's not where they want to be right now.
Yeah, that's more of a today thing. Okay, so what else was the theme from this week? We've seen oil take another leg up. Where oil goes, the oil producers, LNG producers here go as well, but does that mean that it garners interest on the platform?
So Woodside's fascinating to me. It's the only one in the energy space, really. It's the only one our guys have any interest in at all. Santos isn't even in the numbers. Like you have to look outside the top 20 to find it at all. Woodside's it's a strong attachment kind of company for particularly self-managed super funds because they've loved the dividend for all of this time. So they're really keen on it, but they're very happy to sell it at a price, and they've done it twice this year. There was sort of, as it's run up, the stock's up 70% or something so far this year. They have been trimming it as it rises. When it fell in June, they were buying really aggressively, and then they've been selling again. So we're seeing all the selling at the moment. That's quite interesting. And then Whitehaven's back in, which is not something we've seen for years, right?
Yeah, but that result, are they buying or selling? Because you cannot expect to see those exponential gains in revenue and earnings again.
In such a traditional old world kind of company as well. Like, it's not like you should be shocked by it.
Yeah.
You absolutely can see what's happening with the coal price and with demand and all those sorts of things. So it's not like you couldn't have anticipated an outcome that looks something like that. We've seen really mixed trading. So we haven't seen any interest in Whitehaven in years, literally years. And suddenly really mixed trading in it. The values are quite high, but we're not seeing a really strong buy and we're not seeing a really strong sell either. We're just seeing people moving.
Okay,
clearly
all right.
different perspectives on it.
Yeah, I mean, Whitehaven Coal has got a bit of buying today, up by 0.5%, but I thought it was really interesting to see the share price down yesterday. I mean, if you've been in it for a while, then you've done very, very well. Okay, let me just think. What else? Uranium this week. We had Japan yesterday making an announcement that it is going to be reopening and reconsidering nuclear power. Obviously, this is a big theme around the globe. But did you guys sort of trade uranium? Okay.
Yeah. Nothing.
Lithium,
though, all over it. Love that. Uranium just feels, I think, for a lot of our guys, a bit of a bridge too far, and they've been on that train before, got burnt and got back off again. So I think lithium, that's fun, and also there's a heap of players in there, so you can really enjoy it, trade around, all that kind of stuff. Pilbara Minerals volumes at the moment are enormous, like absolutely massive. So they're enjoying that. That's fun for them. But they kind of, they trim at the top and then they buy a little bit more and then they trim and they buy a bit more. They've had a good time because a lot of them were buying back in May. It was off like 19-20% on the day. They were loving that. Goldman Sachs, thanks very much. And then they've run it all the way back again.
Okay, just an international thought. We had a Tesla share split, stock split this week, and we had a few reports still coming through. I mean, I know quarterlies for the most part are over, but we heard from NVIDIA through the overnight period. Anything particularly resonating?
I find this really interesting. When I look through the numbers in international, it's always Tesla at the top, right? The very small trades, really small, with the exception of Bed Bath & Beyond, which I mentioned last week because it became the next big meme stock, and then we found out it wasn't a meme stock 2 days later. The trade sizes on average are below $1,000, like $980. Tiny. But if you look past Tesla, this long list of chip makers, right? It's all chip makers, people moving around, trying to find a place. Do I want ASML? What do I want? And NVIDIA's a sell. It's been a strong sell for a while now. It's bounced back pretty hard from June, so it's come back really well. You're up about 20% if you bought at the low. And if you bought it 3 years ago, you're feeling like a king, right? So it's been interesting. They've been getting rid of that at the moment.
Okay. Well, I think we've done our tour around the markets, our weekly date. Gemma Dale, I'll see you next week.
Thank you so much.
Joining us from nabtrade.